Okay, good evening, everyone. I will open up tonight's Mashpee Conservation Commission meeting for Thursday, May 29th, 2025. We are meeting in the quiet meeting room, Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North. Tonight's meeting is broadcast live on local cable channels 8 and 1072, and also streamed live on the Town of Mashpee website. This is a hybrid remote Zoom meeting, and the regular meeting Zoom information is clearly posted on the agenda. However, our executive session is not. So before I do open, if you'd like to join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag, please do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First on the agenda, I am looking for a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to review the current status and strategy recommendations with Town Council regarding property located at 110 Pompanesett Island Road. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. And a second by Marjorie. Up for discussion amongst commissioners? We all set? I will say under discussion that when we are finished, the commission will reconvene in open session, and we anticipate that to be approximately 7:30. Okay.
The only question for you is a procedural one. Are we going to be voting on anything after we get done with the discussion?
After we get done with this discussion and
110?
executive, I don't believe so.
I think I'm just here to give you guys an update.
Just
I don't think you,
info,
yeah,
right?
and just talk about, potential next steps and whatnot.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Current status and
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay? All right, let me take a roll call vote.
Yes.
Steve? Rich? Marjorie?
Yes?
Sarah?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So that carries unanimously. So we are in executive session, and we are no longer on air. I marked those on my own copy.
We are on.
So,
Okay.
when do you think you would have the draft agenda for the 12th?
12th?
Yeah,
Oh, I'll have that next week.
okay.
I already have it started up, so.
Okay. I'm leaving Tuesday. I'm heading out for upstate New York. I come back Sunday the 8th.
Okay. Let me shoot
But
it
I'll
out.
still have my iPad with me. I can check emails and I'll have my phone with
I'll do
me.
what I did last week. I'll shoot it out on Friday. I get in Monday. I'll just process all the changes on it if there's any additions. Shoot it back to you for approval, you and Paul.
Oh, this coming Monday?
Yeah, tomorrow I'll send it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, okay.
Whatever's on it right now, I'll send it out.
Okay.
3 hearings. We have 3 now.
Okay.
So it's not overburdensome night, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to Finger Lakes
Oh, just
in,
gone.
in Albany and back, so,
It sounds fun, actually. Not gonna lie.
yeah.
Oh, man.
So I'm not too far, but far enough, so. But, like I said, I'll have my iPad with me and my phone, so.
All right,
So I can, I can answer emails and stuff back too, so,
that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, I'll get that out tomorrow.
okay.
I just had 2 come in at 11:45 today. I'm like, we just made it. Oh my goodness.
11:45.
2 of them at the same time, different firms.
Wow.
Wow. Just made it. So,
Yeah, and definitely would be helpful to have an attorney there if he's, I found in my experience, if I go into a hearing and there's an attorney there and I'm dealing with them, I said, nah, it's not worth it.
I'm just waiting for Marjorie so we can
Okay.
start.
Yeah.
No audio.
We're good now.
Perfect. You must have heard me typing.
Can you hear me okay, Jim?
Yep, we can all hear
3,
you.
4.
Okay.
Okay,
Like, after there was no audio, all of a sudden, all the voices came in, and it scared the hell out of me.
okay, then I can open. We have 4.
Yes, we can.
All right, so I'm going to reconvene our meeting in open session. I have 7:31. And, hold on. Let's begin with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll have a brief moment of silence. Okay, thank you. First on our open meeting agenda is for any public comment for issues that are not related to agenda items. I don't see anyone here in the audience. We don't have anyone online that wants to make public comment? Okay, we did list approval of draft minutes, but I don't believe we have any minutes that we are reviewing. Okay, so I'm going to forgo that. And I'll go into the first discussion item. This is for discussion and a vote on the Woods Hole Group peer review proposal for 34 Triton Way. And we have a copy of that. Everyone should have that in front of them, dated May 12th, 2025. You may recall that this job came before the commission a while ago, and we did issue an order of conditions for the work to stabilize the slope, but we did not include any of the work that was proposed for the concrete wall. And it was suggested that we go out to peer review for that structure to see if indeed it was necessary or if it was feasible. So we have this proposal. It's from the Coastal Bank Stabilization Design Review. And kind of, I guess it speaks for itself. I believe that the representative for the applicant, 34 Triton Way, is okay with this. There's been some discussion. back and forth in terms of the proposal itself and the fee and how that is to be paid and processed by the town. So I would accept any questions or concerns or comments from commissioners before I call for a vote to accept this proposal.
Good to me.
Paul, I have a quick question.
Sure, Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just reading the review, are they actually gonna go out to the site? The tasks just have them looking at the paperwork. I just wanna make sure they're actually gonna go out there and take a look. Okay, great.
They, I mean, who are you
It's
referring to?
not in the paperwork, so.
Yeah, they've actually, I think they've been out to the site because the homeowner had reached out to them when he was trying to select an engineer to start this process. So I know they're very familiar with the site, but I would imagine a site visit would be absolutely required.
I would too. It just wasn't listed under one of
Right.
the things we're.
Yeah, and we can stipulate that with Woods Hole Group, that they amend this proposal to include a site visit. At least one, yeah.
Perfect. That's the only question I had. Otherwise, it looks great. They seem well qualified to do what we're asking for, so.
Okay, got that noted. Thank you. Anything else? Anything there, Steve, that catches your eye? You okay with that?
Looks good.
Okay,
Just one quick comment, Paul.
sure, go ahead.
That the engineer for the property owner, Lala Engineering, he did reach out to me, and yes, Mr. Fink, the property owner, is fine with the fee, and he's ready to, cut the check for the fee and get this process started. Lala's going to create a more updated plan for this vertical wall for the benefit of the peer review. So just wanted to let the commission know about that. That came in an email yesterday, that request. So what we'll do is, I think they're pretty much finalizing that plan as we speak. And once it's submitted, we'll provide that to the commission and to Woods Hole Group.
Okay, very good.
Good?
So anything else? No, we're good? All right, then I will take a motion.
So, make a motion to accept the letter and the proposal from Woods Hole Group for 34 Triton Way.
Okay,
Second.
first by Steve, second by Marjorie. Thank you. Motion on the table for discussion. I have one quick question under discussion. Drew, I'm going to go to you on this. The total cost is $3,500.
Excuse me.
Is that higher than the cap that we are able to charge?
It is higher than the cap, which I believe is 2,500.
Yeah, I thought that number was,
Yeah, but as long as it's not disputed, and I can certainly double check with council on this, then I think it's fine if it exceeds. If that, if that's what, if there was a dispute on the cost, we would have to go back to the table and find, do another search for a consultant that would be more in line with that cap.
okay,
But since it's not being disputed, I don't see it an issue.
okay. Just wanted to check on that.
Sure.
Anything else before I call for the vote? All right, Steve.
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well, so that motion carries unanimously. Great, thank you. The next discussion item is water quality issues and initiatives. This is an ongoing discussion item. Is there anything commissioners would like to bring forward under water quality?
I just have a question for the commission. Paul, Drew, Dan, maybe this is something that you would have some information on. It looks like there's a new town committee or a subcommittee for freshwater ponds, and I'm just curious how we will get to interface with them to support each other's, causes or mandates, as the case may be. Does anybody have any information on this?
Yes, there is a new committee that was formed. They just got sworn in, I think, last week or the week prior. And their first meeting is coming up. I will be attending it. So I can definitely give you a heads up, and I can discuss with them to see on any possible presentation or discussion they could have for direction or, intermingling of minds between two boards. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? All is quiet out there with the water for today? Okay. Permit I's is the next discussion item, and Drew, you said you wanted to table that for a later meeting?
Yeah, only because I was planning on doing like a visual
Sure.
presentation component. Since I was under the weather, not able to attend in person, we can just table that for another time.
Okay, we'll find space on an upcoming agenda for that.
Great. Thank you.
So I'll just take a motion to table that.
Yeah, so moved.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Thank you, Marjorie. Let me take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Rich? Marjorie?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well. Our next discussion item is for the public comments that were submitted at our last hearing for Regulation 25. I marked off these on my electronic copy, but I remember them. You all have a printed copy on your table. If you notice Performance Standard 2, Drew had brought this up, and he was referring to the first bullet. Actually, I would suggest that these bullets become either sub-letters or numbers for reference purposes if this were to become the new Regulation 25, rather than just bullets, because it's hard to reference a bullet. But I know that the point that was brought forward was that it appears as though the first two sentences in this first bullet kind of contradict each other. I looked at that closely, and I also looked at the other three bullets. And I remember when we spent time in subcommittee talking about this and looking for ways to soften this concept of building footprints, either allow them to be moved around on the property if there was enough space on the lot to move the footprint. It didn't necessarily mean it had to be exactly where it was, but also to talk in terms of having these evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Case in point, if a particular home needed to be enlarged by a couple of hundred square feet because the utilities needed to be moved up onto the second floor, or if there was a waiver request for a larger footprint because of a disabled family member and they needed wider hallways or a bigger room for a bathroom type of thing for a wheelchair accommodation. So we kicked this around quite a bit. And when you look at the fourth bullet really clarifies what's found in the first bullet. It says, any approval of an expanded building footprint and/or additional structures as described above will require a minimum of a 2-to-1 ratio of mitigation plantings per square footage of proposed increase in the building footprint and/or additional structures. So in essence, what the Performance Standard 2 is saying is the existing buildings may be renovated, but they have to be built using flood-resistant construction and consistent with the current building code and limited to the footprint. So as I said, along comes somebody that can't abide by that, then they're free to propose whatever they want. And then the next sentence isn't a contradictory sentence in my viewpoint, it's a discretionary sentence. This gives discretionary powers to a commissioner to listen to the proposal of an applicant as to why they need a footprint that's bigger than what they've already been legally entitled to. And it allows the commissioners to rule on that on a case-by-case basis. So I feel very comfortable with the way it's written. I don't see any need to change that, but I'm certainly willing to listen to what commissioners have to say, and if we need to go back to subcommittee to look at this again, then so be it, but I'll open it up for discussion.
A couple of questions I have is going back to that, it says in that first sentence, limit to the existing footprint of footprints. Should we say existing building size? Because does footprint say that you have to be locked into that footprint? Or is it just saying, like you said, you can move it on the property?
It's always been footprint.
Right, but does footprint lock us into that location? Does people construe that as that? Or can it be same building size? Same building,
You're saying square footage, even though if the shape changes, but it's the same square footage?
Yeah.
The
Right.
configuration of the foundation changes.
yeah, right.
Right.
That's what I'm just saying is,
And that would be true, because if you go back to the definitions, it says building footprint refers to all previously legally permitted total square footage of structures and appurtenances. That's why
Okay.
footprints has the S on the end.
okay, so
So,
I answered that question.
yeah.
And then at the top heading for number 2, this is within the AE/minimal wave action zone of land subject to coastal storm flowage. Is that the coastal A? Is that what we're talking about, the minimal wave action zone?
No. This-
Because when I go down to number 6, they mention coastal A zones.
Right.
But then number 7 says proposed within velocity zones and within AO zones. Well, we don't have any AO zones. That's river flooding, I think. It's an AO?
On 7?
Yeah.
7E.
So shouldn't that say within coastal A zone?
Hold on.
And what, why, I
Right.
haven't seen any AO zones on
Right.
our flood zone maps here. I don't know
I
if Drew
think
can speak to that, or Dan, do you guys have?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, AO zones do refer to riverfront. And, southeastern Massachusetts on the Cape, rivers are groundwater fed as opposed to surface water and groundwater. So the likelihood of a river overtopping its banks on Cape Cod or southeastern Massachusetts is extremely remote. It hardly ever happens, except in extreme weather conditions. So, yeah, I agree. I think if we just change the AO to A there, it would make a lot of sense.
Coastal A?
Coastal A, right?
Coastal A, yeah, exactly.
All right, hold on.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's the 3 prevalent. We have AE zones, we have coastal A, and we have velocity zones.
Velocity, right.
Those are the 3 that we deal with.
So we're going to change that in number 7 and in 7E as well, right?
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Coastal A. All right, and just looking further, I don't see it there. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, just to touch on your comment, Paul, I agree with explaining it that way. Going back to performance standard number 2, and that potential conflicting language, that was brought up at the PBA meeting, and some people were confused by the language, but the way you described it makes perfect sense. It's kind of like a case by case. It's
Right.
just that. So it's
Right.
kind of like, it's almost like a waiver consideration, for
Sure.
those circumstances that may, be approvable with mitigation or something to offset, any potential impact. So, yeah, I don't see the need to change that.
Okay, and are we okay with just changing these bullets to letters?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll go ahead and make that formatting change.
So A, B, C, and D?
Yeah.
That way you can refer to them specifically.
Oh,
Yeah.
where was it in the definition, with footprints?
It's under building footprint.
Building footprint, okay.
Yeah, definition. building-
Should we have, where you have the footprints, should say see definitions, just to make it even clearer for anybody, or? Isn't that
I was going to
somebody's?
suggest that you could just add a clarifying comment to that section, just saying geospatial footprint or something to that effect, you know, just to clarify that if there's an opportunity to move your structure, your building further away from, you know, other resource areas or wetlands, if there's an opportunity to do that, you know, that is not only acceptable but encouraged, I would think. As long as you're not getting into, you know, if there's an opportunity to, you know, take advantage of previously altered areas and you're not chopping down a bunch of trees in a naturally wooded area to accommodate that setback. But in general, you know, conceptually, if it's possible to move structure further away from wetlands and water bodies, I think that should be, you know, clarified, I guess.
Right.
I think it was Sarah who brought up the term geospatial, getting clarification on, you know, what we mean by building footprint, because there are going to be circumstances where, you know, increasing the setback in a raise and replace is feasible on certain lots.
I'm trying to think of an easy way to do that. Would we want?
We can tinker with the language and see what, you know, what works there. If you guys think that's a good idea, just to try and clarify that a little more.
Well, I recall quite a while back, we in subcommittee had talked about moving the footprint around in a lot that had enough space to do so.
Right.
But somehow that didn't come out in the language, I guess.
No, it didn't. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It would be a.
Could we just add a definition for geospatial and refer to that from the performance standard?
Yeah, that would work.
That might be the easiest way. I don't want to do a lot of changing to the performance standards because the public has already commented and.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, understood. I think that's a better way to go.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we have some type of a reference to a definition of geospatial
Yeah.
footprint?
Okay.
That might be the best way to approach
that's
that.
Yeah.
Let me just make a note of that. Okay. All right. The other comment came from a resident on the words prohibited versus restricted. And I believe they were referring to number 7. Hold on, I marked it on my,
It says restricted, yeah, number 7.
I marked it on
Right.
my, I believe it's in 2 different places that she was talking about it. It was actually in number 6, under vertical walls. It says vertical walls are thus restricted within the coastal A zone. And the woman was saying, well, if you don't want to have them, why don't you just say prohibited? And she did say, maybe there's a legal reason for that. And I know when we were talking about this in subcommittee, we talked about, because we had the word prohibited in there, correct, Drew?
That's correct. Yes.
And then we decided that we're really not giving an applicant a chance to even argue their case. It was being rather arbitrary to use the word prohibited, whereas restricted still gives the commission plenty of discretion to say no if they feel as though it's not suitable for the resource area.
Right.
I think restricted is better because what we dealt with at 425 Monomoskoye. The front had a wall because of the grade, and the rest of it was on pilings, and that was a perfect example of this.
Right?
Good point.
That worked out, yeah. So
I like
I'm fine with the word
restricted
restricted.
Yeah.
So we'll stay with those.
Yeah, also when you have restricted, it allows them to apply, and with the Wetlands Protection Act, they are allowed to request and apply for, quite frankly, anything they want. So if you put prohibited, that might put a restriction,
That's
which
right.
could cause an issue. So restriction, I think, might be
You could
better.
make
Yeah, I
yourself
mean,
crazy.
prohibited has its place, like, for instance, in our, some of our conservation land policies, illegal dumping is prohibited. You have no worries about using the word prohibited.
Right.
When issues are totally black and white, and very straightforward. It's those, other situations where the use of the word prohibited, when you don't really know what to expect or what you're going to see, that could be used, that could be construed as arbitrary and limiting to the public as far as what they can, present to you for consideration. So that was the rationale behind the word change.
Okay.
I would actually wonder or pose a question if the opposite could also be true. If we use language to restrict something, but we don't have a uniform standard by which we restrict it, if it's case-by-case basis, I feel like that could be a point of contention. If we, I don't know, I think it places the onus on us rather than just to say, this practice is demonstrated to cause adverse impacts in these areas, and therefore, no matter the circumstances, it's not permitted towards the end game of protecting the resource areas versus saying it's restricted and then having to adjudicate when that's appropriate. So I don't know. I understand we don't want to change it too much, but
Right.
I could see it in a different light, especially for the function of what we're looking to do here and how contentious it already is. So.
Well, keep in mind too, just to that point, that the language in the Wetlands Protection Act is repeated many times, and in our local bylaw too, that the burden of proof falls upon the applicant. So you're really thrusting the entire responsibility and burden of proof to demonstrate to the commission as the issuing authority that what they're presenting isn't going to adversely impact, and that actually makes your job easier in terms of adjudicating, because the burden of proof is not upon you, it's upon the applicant.
Sure, I would think so, but what we often get is just a statement that says this will not cause any adverse impacts, and it's usually written in a lot of cases by like an attorney, not by a,
Understood.
You know what I mean?
That just makes it easier for you to make a counter argument.
That's
Because
true.
It's very general and open-ended.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I didn't become an attorney though. I went to school for conservation, so I don't actually like the argument. I'd like it to, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
We could make ourselves crazy on all of these if you went through it.
Well, I think in the end, we've got a pretty good product here.
I think so, too.
It's gone through a lot of changes, and to me, it looks like it's good to go. Those were the only comments, really. There was another woman that spoke, but it was all in favor of. There was
That's right.
nothing that was critical or asked to be changed.
So what's our next step
I
after
think
this?
it's ready.
So our next step would be to just do these minor edits. I don't believe it would trigger another legal review.
Oh, there was one other standard that was commented on. It wasn't at the public comment, but it was brought up by one of the engineers that we see commonly. And it goes to, and it makes sense. It's really just clarifying language, not changing the intent, but adding words for clarification purposes so nobody can misconstrue what this portion of language under standard number 6, if you go to the last paragraph, that starts with the words or the phrase, because a significant proportion of wave energy.
Yep.
Do you see that?
Yep.
Yep.
So when you go down to the, let's see, second sentence, vertical walls are thus restricted within the coastal A zone of land subject to coastal storm flow and within 150 feet of a coastal water body. The engineer suggested that we also emphasize, after it says water body, within a coastal A zone. Because somebody could come away reading that and say, oh, you're just talking about any coastal water body? Or are those within an A zone? So it's just re-emphasis that we're still talking about the coastal A zone when it comes to that 150 feet of a coastal water body.
Right.
So I think that makes perfect sense. It's not changing the intent. If anything, it's emphasizing the intent. And I think we should add that in.
Yep. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Okay,
That's fine.
Okay.
good. That was it.
Rich, you okay
All
with that?
Yeah.
Sarah?
Sure, just a quick question though, I didn't see a copy of those comments digitized. I know they're printed and I'm not there in person. Is it possible to have that distributed out, or did I miss it?
I don't think they were digitized, they were just from the recording of the public comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Public comment
Okay.
here. But I can put them in writing, on a draft, and send it off, put them in writing.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, all sounds good, all sounds good.
Okay, so our next step is?
So the next step would be to do these minor edits and then bring it forward under a promulgation hearing. And that would give the public one last time, correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, to come in and comment?
No, because you closed the public comment, hearing.
Okay,
So public comment is officially over. But we would still have a hearing for promulgation, because that's part of the Home Rule Authority adoption process, is to have a formal hearing, again, advertised in the paper. And it's your discretion, obviously, as a commission, if you wish to entertain further public comment. I should have said that right at the offset. But you didn't
Right.
close the public comment hearing, but you can always reopen it. That's
Right.
your decision.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what date do we want to do that on?
Well, I mentioned that I won't be available for our next meeting on June 12th, but I'll be certainly available on the 26th, so I was thinking the 26th.
Okay.
Good.
That gives us
You
time
should
to
be here, yeah.
do these minor edits, and we need, is it a 14-day or a 10-day window of notification, Drew, in the paper?
I think it's 10 days.
10? So that
Yeah.
gives us plenty of time.
Okay. That sounds good.
So why don't we tentatively look at that first schedule?
Sounds good.
We'll go with it on the 26th. Okay, anything else? I'm hoping for dead silence. We're okay? All right.
We're all okay.
Let me get back to that
Set a record tonight.
agenda. Okay, that's all our discussion items. Then we have the updates that I'll turn over to either Drew or Dan, if there's something there that you want to bring up that we're not aware of.
So Red Brook Road culvert, that's still ongoing. You guys should probably see a notice of intent coming before you, I would assume, within the next month or so, as they wrap up permit level plans. This is Horsley Witten Group that's working on the culvert replacement project. That kind of dovetails out into the wetland restoration component of this, and the towns of Falmouth and Mashpee are working to acquire, using grant funds for the specific purpose, to purchase the association-owned land that borders Red Brook. And it's, as you know, that town line cuts right through there, so part of this association land is on the Falmouth side, the other is on the Mashpee side, and it looks like that's all going pretty smoothly. There might be some hiccups on the Falmouth side, with a couple of residents who are opposed to, to this transfer of land, purchase of land, but the Mashpee side is 100% all in favor. And the whole purpose of purchasing these lands is so the towns can work together to restore the bordering vegetated wetland habitat associated with Red Brook and restore Red Brook itself. So that would be kind of like the next phase after the culvert repair is done, to tackle the wetland restoration. And the first step is trying to acquire the land that surrounds that whole habitat area, that stream habitat land. So you should see that coming before you, the culvert notice of intent. Upper Quashnet restoration, we're just sorting out with Horsley Witten Group some of the input from that Source to Sea community outreach event that was at the Tribal Government Center a couple of weeks ago, and incorporating that into the next phase of permits plans, which should be as a 50% level plans is the next one you'll see, and that'll be brought before you in a presentation from Horsley Witten Group as we progress on that project. John's Pond is going to be treated at some point later on in June for spot treatment for some of the invasive milfoil that has popped up. Nothing substantial, very small areas, but nonetheless need to be addressed before it spreads into a larger footprint. So that'll be taking place later on this month, and we'll notify all beachfront, waterfront associations around John's Pond and post notifications. There's no issues with this herbicide. It was done previously in John's Pond. It's very target specific and has no adverse impacts or health concerns associated with it. And all of that will be posted in a flyer that we'll distribute around when the time comes. Top take, we're still waiting for it to stop raining, so the pools of water that are out there will slowly become wetlands. They're still very much flooded with all the rain we've had, so you don't really see too much of the wetland characteristics popping up, but you will eventually once we progress into the summer and get less rainfall, less precipitation. The edge areas that were dug up around the bog cells are already starting to green up with native species, and we haven't noticed any sort of invasive species cropping up, which is a really great sign. But soon enough, you'll start to see the wetland conditions established out there. Interpretive sign has been created and will be posted out there. It's an amazing looking sign. Horsley Witten did a great job with it, and I'll send everybody a PDF of what the sign looks like, the images, and all of the information about what the bogs, historically were harvested, the whole history of the parcel, and then the importance and education of wetland restoration that's brought us up to today. So the interpretive sign really covers A to Z as far as the history of that parcel and what's taking place currently. Herring updates, all the herring, or I'll hand that over to Dan. Dan, you can update the herring status.
The herring are running really strong this year, Santua Pond and Mashpee especially. They are very large, not just in school sizes, but actually in size itself. Individual herring are extremely large this year. So we have been seeing a little bit more of a mortality rate in the latter, which we are assuming is due to the age, because, with fish, sooner or later, they just kind of stop. So I'm assuming that's what it is. That's what we are assuming, and hopefully with the whole thing, with the Mesh River especially, that the project goes through and kind of gets good public comment, because the sedimentation building up inside the ladder is getting kind of ridiculous. The clams are loving it. They're massive, but other than that, it just shouldn't be happening like that. John's Pond is good, and all three of the ladders are seeing fish starting to return to the water for the past about a week and a half now. So large amounts are returning to the water, no fry yet, and it's just been a good season for it. So the counting continues, that's for certain.
Nice.
Yay.
Good.
And just briefly about Harbor Management Committee, that was presented, the draft, final draft was presented to the select board last week. There's still some minor tweaks to be made, but we're kind of at the end of the process here. And then once it gets finalized, it gets sent up to the state for final approval. Chapter 91 has to be involved in the final approval of a harbor management plan. So we're close to the finish line there. Mashpee River restoration, still a lot of data being collected and conceptual ideas being tossed around as far as what we want to see in restoration of the upper Mashpee River. Santua Pond Fish Ladder, happy to report that NRCS has finalized their design team to create a nature-like fish passage adjacent to the existing structure, which is underperforming, to put it mildly. So we'll start to see that come before you through a notice of intent, hopefully sooner than later, and get that constructed as soon as feasible, because it's a very frustrating situation out there that I want to see addressed ASAP. So hopefully we'll get that process sped up and get that much needed nature-like fish passage constructed and in place so herring can ascend into Santua Pond with relative ease. And I think that's all the updates I have.
Okay.
All right.
Just a quick question. Dan, you would probably have information about the tribal co-management focus group. Has there been any contact from the tribe at all?
They did reach out to me. They're still going through some stuff, just facilitating for gathering the group together. So hopefully that was good news. I did meet with the tribe 2 weeks ago to discuss not just the co-management, but also for other properties, as well as tree planting, because they are also interested in looking at select board properties. So we will see how that goes, because that's all land bank, and that's a different category all by itself.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're looking at bunching those together or just individually. So we'll see where that goes. But as for the focus group, they did tell me it's still on their mind, and they are still tracking it. And that's what I got.
Okay, great. Communication correspondence, we don't have anything that needs to be brought to our attention. Are there additional topics that
We're
anyone,
talking about doing a reorg on the 26th?
on the 26th, yes. Yep, we'll do a reorg on the 26th. Looking forward to that.
And I'm happy to report that Dan and I have not screwed up in any major way since Stacy's departure.
That's good.
Who's making the coffee?
Very happy to hear that.
We've had moments. They've always been fixed.
Is the job opening posted, Drew?
So HR just sent me the final draft for the position details today. I finalized it, so it'll be posted on Monday.
Great.
Very good.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully somebody will surface.
I hope so.
Sooner the better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be back in the field.
Yeah, we're cooped up in the office more than we want to be at this time of year.
You didn't realize how hard it was to be her. Or did
All the
you?
kudos in the world, that's for
Did you
certain.
already?
Nothing but respect for what that position entails.
I
Good
did not know
Lord.
the whole scope of it. That's for
Yeah,
certain. A lot of work.
tough. I wouldn't want to do it.
Okay, then if there's nothing further, I would take a motion for adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Thank you, Marjorie. Roll call vote, Steve?
Yes.
Rich? Sarah?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Motion carries. Thank you,